right, I'm going to go ahead and call the January 2025 Planning Commission meeting to order. Happy New Year to everybody. And we're going to start off with some couple of housekeeping items here with we're going to take the attendance here. Would you, Mr. Black, would you take care of that for us?
Yes, sir. Chairman Miller,
Here?
Doug Jackmore. Here. Justin Coffin. Yeah. Cheryl Monty. Shirley Hatley. Here. Luke Duffield. John Choate. Here. Larry Smith. Eric Westcott.
We do have quorum. All right. All right, let's move on to the approval of the minutes from the November 7th meeting of 2024. Have you had a chance to look those over? And if so, what is your pleasure?
I make a motion to approve.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the November 2024 Planning Commission meeting. All those in favor acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. All right. First order of business is another housekeeping item here. Just bear with us, folks. That's election of officers for 2025, chairman, vice chairman, and secretary.
Make the motion, we have Chairman Miller stay, Vice Chairman Jack Moore, and Secretary Black.
Second? Do we hear? You did second? Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second to sentence us, to appoint us for one more year to the Planning Commission. All those in favor acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. All right. All right. The item number 2, we have rezoning R1 to WN, which is a walkable neighborhood located on the corner of South Vancouver Avenue and West 12th Street, submitted by Barrett and Associates on behalf of Rude Construction Incorporated. Sarah, take it away.
Thank you. So this is a rezoning request from single family to walkable neighborhood. I asked the applicant to provide some images of potential homes. It's the next image in the slide is on my screen. Okay, I'm hitting the wrong button. Sorry about that. Okay. I asked the applicant to provide some images of what type of residential construction that they're proposing to construct within this walkable neighborhood so that we have some sort of idea of what the new homes in this area would look like. At the bottom left of the corner of the screen is the existing conditions. Of which it's a vacant property located at the intersection of Vancouver and 12th Street. This is that northwest corner of at the roundabout. The area is currently zoned R1, single family residential, with the majority of that area being R1. There is a small portion zoned R2, medium density residential, which accommodates the multifamily complexes to the south. This area is residential in neighborhood with R1 and portions of R2 zoning supporting single-family residential units. To the southwest, there's that apartment complex and additional multifamily developments. Since this is the first request for this new zone, I did want to provide that basis of what is a walkable neighborhood. So the general description for a walkable neighborhood states that the district is intended to focus on the creation of safe, connected neighborhoods that allow multimodal accessibility through small-scale urban form, supported by a smaller lot requirement. The focus of this area is primarily residential, but institutional and some commercial uses will be incorporated and are anticipated to provide services to the surrounding residential uses. For non-residential uses, the structure is limited to a size that is compatible with the surrounding development and uses. This proposed location is adjacent to the Russellville Connected Trail System. It is located down from Sequoia Park and Sequoia Elementary, both thoughts and areas that you would anticipate having a walkable neighborhood located near. What's missing is any commercial uses that would be permitted in a walkable neighborhood. This is not necessarily next to commercial developments at this time, and no commercial developments are proposed within this development. I have a lot of information, so there's a lot I'm going to be going through on this report because it is the first that we have seen of a walkable neighborhood. So future and current land uses. While this is the last larger vacant property within the R1 zone in this area, emerging trends in single-family residential construction nationwide have shown great success with innovative approaches such as smaller lot sizes, reduced setbacks, shared driveways, and rear access alleys. Nearby communities have implemented similar developments that have proven to be both popular and successful. Although this zone is not restricted to single-family use, the applicant's proposal for a single-family residential-only subdivision aligns well with the current and future uses. While the broader vision for this neighborhood includes a mixture of uses to foster a walkable, mixed-use community focusing solely on single-family residential development in this subdivision could be a practical step toward achieving that vision over time. This type of smaller, walkable neighborhood offers significant benefits by creating close-knit, vibrant communities within the larger city, fostering relationships and connections that endure for years. As a city, we avoid and we do not recommend approval of spot zoning due to the potential for incompatible land uses. However, in this case, given the vision for the proposed zoning and the surrounding uses, staff believes that establishing the WN, that's the walkable neighborhood zone here, would not create any inconsistencies. Instead, it would complement the existing and future land uses in the area. This development could provide a valuable opportunity to help address the current gap in the housing market and present an opportunity to explore how this new zoning approach can align with both current and future development goals for the area. Using the comprehensive plan as a guide, it defines this area primarily as suburban single-family or areas set aside for neighborhoods of single-family homes. These include low-density subdivisions that have already been platted but have not been completely built out. The area is mostly made up of single-family detached homes with driveways and garages. These neighborhoods have auto-oriented features. In reviewing the comprehensive plan in relation to this proposal, while it does not fully align with the stated low-density designation, it does meet the intent by proposing single-family detached homes with driveways and garages. In an R1 zone without any construction constraints, 41 single-family homes could be constructed on this property. From what we understand as staff, they are proposing to build 36 single-family homes. It is reasonable to consider this development as a transition between the lowest density R1 zone with the higher density area to the south. The proposal seeks to create a practical and beneficial density while maintaining compatibility with surrounding uses. It does not propose the higher multifamily densities found to the southwest of the property. Therefore, rezoning to the WN walkable neighborhood zone appears to be appropriate and aligns with the vision outlined in the 2040 comprehensive plan. Finally, value or income of property. The additional permitted uses within the walkable neighborhood zone may increase the value and income potential of the property compared to its current R1 zoning. However, the zoning regulations specify that a request should not be based exclusively upon the desire to increase the value or income potential of the property. This property was identified during the zoning code updates as one that could benefit from the walkable neighborhood zone. The intent behind this request is to address a specific housing need within the community rather than solely to increase property value or income potential. Given the housing need within the community, the ability to create higher density housing while still meeting the intent of the zoning code aligns with the broader goals of promoting sustainable development and providing a variety of housing options. Therefore, the rezone request can be supported by staff as it fulfills both the objectives of the zoning code and the community's needs. I know that was a lot of information, but I felt like we needed to be pretty thorough as this is the first request for a walkable neighborhood. As a result of the review, staff does believe that Planning Commission should forward this request to City Council for approval to rezone the property from R1 Single Family Residential to WN Walkable Neighborhood as a result of the findings that the application is in line with existing and future land uses within the area. The proposed rezoning is consistent with emerging trends in single-family residential construction. The proposal meets the intent of the comprehensive plan designation of suburban single-family. The proposed walkable neighborhood zone addresses housing needs identified within the community, and rezoning to the walkable neighborhood zone appears to be appropriate and aligns with the vision outlined in the 2040 comprehensive plan. Again, I know that was a lot, but do you have any questions?
Thank you, Sarah. We do have some folks that have signed up to speak. And AJ Walsh.
Yes.
Okay, if you would step up to the microphone there and state your name for the record, if you would.
Pardon me?
State your name again for the record.
Oh, yes, I will. My understanding is I have 3 minutes?
Yes, you do. Yeah,
Oh.
state your name for the record, though.
Yes, okay. My name for the record is A.J. Walsh, W-A-L-S-H, and I reside at 1006 South Tulsa Avenue, which is an abutting property to the proposed neighborhood. Can we restart the clock?
Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
All right.
In 2011, I asked James Ford what the future plan for the forest behind the home I was thinking of purchasing was. Ford told me it was zoned R1 and not to worry about other types of development. My neighbors and I patiently waited 14 years for the property to be developed, and 15 days ago, we were notified that the property zoning was intended to be changed to walkable neighborhood with 36 homes planned to be built on a 6-acre final section of Brookview Estates. Approving this zoning change tonight will betray the trust of abutting and nearby neighbors who have lived there decades and enjoy their homesteads. I've got some questions for you. Was a professional drainage impact conducted and compared to the 2018 study by adding 36 homes and ignoring 6 acres of open land? What kind of environmental impact was conducted with considering eliminating all trees, displacing all mammals, numerous birds, and pollinators? What about the effect on neighbors with allergies and difficulty breathing as 6 acres of dense trees are burned? Was a marketability study conducted for the likely sale of these 36 homes in the zoning change that includes 5-foot setbacks and no streets meeting the current R1 code? Was the current declining water pressure in this area considered before moving forward? Was the increased fire risk from densely built residences considered regarding the risk to abutting homes? Does the fire department have enough personnel, equipment, and fire plugs to suppress multiple building fires before it quickly spreads to existing abutting residences or outbuildings? Is the builder or developer going to provide separate walls or fences on the perimeter to block sight lines and noise? What is the effect going to be on traffic on the new now narrow Vancouver Street lanes? There are no east-west connected sidewalks from 12th Street to Bradley Lane. That's 10 full blocks. There's no east-west sidewalks. What is the financial impact on homes within 1/2 mile of this radical experiment? And that's exactly what it is. It's a radical experiment. If it fails, and we remain stuck with the zoning changes without 18 options of the WN zoning within our average 30-year-old R1 neighborhood, and it is in the R1 neighborhood. As I heard Ms. John Dahl's presentation, that is in conflict. Has anyone considered changing the development of 5 1.3-acre lots, accessing the property from 12th Street in Vancouver on a 33-foot concrete driveway to a single property gate for each of the 5 homes? There'll be plenty of room left to build 450,000 plus homes, and Root Incorporated will benefit from not installing the 31 sewage connections, gas connections, water connections, and underground cable across the acreage with 31 electrical boxes, as well as not falling all the trees or putting in any streets or alleys. That's a big save. This type of development will meet R1 regulations and provide a positive profitability. There are 16 abutting residences. I'm going to turn to the audience. Will all abutting landowners and residents and nearby residents please stand? Please raise your left hand if you were informed the R1 zoning existed on this land. Please raise your right hand if you are adamantly against changing the R1 zoning. Please be seated. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, Phil Hutchinson. I'm sorry? We'll be there in just a sec. Let me get, I've got 4 or 5 here, and we'll, okay.
You ready?
Yeah,
My
state
name
your
is
name
Phil.
for the record if you would.
That's what I'm going to start with.
Okay, go ahead.
My name is
Sorry.
Phil Hutchison. I live at 1207 Whippoorwill Lane.
Okay.
I'm an Arkansas registered professional civil engineer, numbered 5179, issued in 1981. I spoke to the City Council several times about my concerns about inadequate piping when the drainage was improved in the watershed that's currently being considered for this high-density development as well as the rest of the watershed. I finally received the input models from the city engineer, and I found that the modeling calculations were underestimating the runoff by a very large amount. The piping specified would not carry the maximum rainfall event. The city engineer quit. The city council hired Mr. Barrett to perform an independent calculation of the runoff. Mr. Barrett's calculation agreed with my review conclusion. The range of the R1 zoning to a high percentage of impervious surface in this 4-block parcel of land will make the earlier calculations for the runoff inadequate and make an informed decision about the safety of the project and to the existing property now downstream of the proposed development. Protection of life and property of residents of the city of Russellville from known risk is a duty of the city council. The parcel of land has been empty for a very long time. A change to R1 to anything goes to the decisions of the needs of patient, responsible, and logical consideration from experienced people that can determine if the project can be a success. The extreme distance of the proposed property to any services that provide powered transportation would be obvious to the casual observer. The proposed property at 12th and Vancouver is not feasible location for a walkable neighborhood. There should be 3 required public meetings for the Planning Commission, research, present reasoned reports on why anything goes to the development need to be done by the residents of Russellville. The 3 full city council meetings should also be held for the public. The final development of the area west of Phoenix Avenue and east of Vancouver abandoned 3 streets, Q, R, and U, in order to sell 2 more homes per block. The street that should have been 11th Street was also closed at Phoenix to Vancouver. This left the property under consideration with no street opening from Whippoorwill on the south, 12th Street on the north, and no street opening from Tulsa on the west. The developer should could not see a plan to build the same number of houses elsewhere in the development, so the wettest orphan corner was left for many years. The people living between Twith and Bradley and between Phoenix and Vancouver would like to have a neighborhood that they could walk in rather than walk the only perimeter of that entire neighborhood, 12 blocks by 5 blocks wide. Okay. The neighborhood needs sidewalks for all streets for the safety and good health of the residents, as well as the proper street lighting to use them. This seems to be a valuable job for the city planner to perform an audit of the city, plan the scope, schedule, and budget for the sidewalks and lighting that would provide safety to the people of the city. Thank you for your time. I will be available anytime to review any data or information that you may develop. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hutchison. We appreciate it. All right. Linda? Linda Hutchison? State your name for the record, if you would.
I'm Linda Hutchison, and I also live at 1207 Whippoorwill Lane here in Russellville. I am not an engineer, but I have an environmental science master's. And during my graduate work, I had the opportunity to work on several research activities, which included rapid growth of cities and repercussions of that fast growth, strip mining in East Texas on runoff pollution, and the pros and cons of growth at a high cost to the common residents. I won't go into what Phil went through. I totally agree with him on the numbers that were originally calculated, and I also agree about having the full council meetings for the public. My family moved to Russellville in October of 1955 when I was 3 years old, and quite frankly, there's still not a lot of difference in some areas here. We bought a house in 1960 on the corner of Detroit and 12th Street. And for years, our street wasn't paved. My father paid to have oil put on the road and gravel put on it, and he paid for a light in the back of our yard because we didn't have any street lamps. And as far as I know, I don't think they still have them over there. We moved to Dallas in 1972. World of difference there. And I'll just cut to the chase. If y'all really want to see a city that's been doing city planning before people even knew what that was, check out Plano, Texas. They set regulations, they enforce the regulations, and the regulations make a lot of sense. And they're larger than Little Rock and North Little Rock put together. So they have a pretty good audience there for, and it's grown about as much as it can now. So I don't see a whole lot of changes going on there in the near future because they're landlocked. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Jamie McCaslin?
I won't speak, I have questions really fast.
Okay, go ahead if you'd like. I mean,
Oh, no, it's not at this time.
okay. All right. Gary Perkins?
My name is Gary Perkins. I reside at 1014 South Tulsa Avenue, and I want to speak today against the request to rezone the area at the intersection of West 12th Street and South Vancouver Avenue to a WN walkable neighborhood. Creating walkable neighborhoods in Russellville, it's a worthy idea. However, it's impractical at this location. A walkable neighborhood, by definition, is an urban area of mixed use that is both residences and businesses, where locals feel less reliance on cars and are comfortable walking to nearby shops and workplaces. It has population density, which provides enough customers to support the nearby amenities, or it has public transportation to take them to these amenities. The neighborhood envisioned will not have the necessary density to support businesses. And at this time, Russellville does not have any type of public transportation. Currently, the area does not have access to any type of shopping. There's no nearby convenience stores like a Casey or a PDQ. There's no nearby retailers like Walmart, Dollar General, or Dollar Tree. There's no nearby sandwich shops like a nearby Subway, a Quiznos, a McDonald's. There's no nearby coffee shops like Starbucks, Seven Brew, Midtown Coffee. The nearest retailer is over a mile away, which means any round-trip walk from your home and back will take nearly an hour based on the average person who walks 3 miles an hour. If we were to build this neighborhood, step into a time machine, and advance 20 years from now, we would find that there still would be no access to any of these goods or services. As there are no stores, there are also no workplaces close for people to find employment within walking distance. It therefore defeats the stated desire of a walkable neighborhood. An organization that works with city planning, WalkScore, has established walkability ratings for cities and towns throughout the United States. A score of 90 to 100 is considered a walker's paradise. 0 to 24 is a car-dependent area. The area in Russellville that's in question scores a 13, makes it a completely car-dependent area. Based on this, I'm therefore requesting that you deny the zoning change, as this could never be a real walkable neighborhood, and keep the land zoned R1. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. Dave, do you or you or Preston, either one want to, or both of you, y'all want to speak? I'll go first and then. Okay. All right.
For the record, David Garza with Barrett and Associates. That piece of property back in the 1990s when Keener had it and Ward Ramsey was set out for commercial. That's why the block was there. It was never developed. It was for commercial. If you remember, this property across the street was commercial, all the way across there. And so the thought was, as the neighborhood grew and everybody grew, that they would put a convenience store at that location. Of course, that's never happened. And in fact, the city then, if you remember, they went back with the Smiths and they rezoned that C2 back to R2 because of the ramifications of that. So that's why the block was left out. That's the purpose of it. It was supposed to be a convenience store, daycare, anything that would help the community, at that location.
When was that, Dave?
That was 93.
93?
Yeah, I moved here in 91. My first project was Vancouver, setting curb hubs. So they finished, I think, the first phase of Brookside or Brookview in 92. And Ward left that piece alone because he wanted that for the future. Just like in where I come from in Austin, we have the same. We're surrounded. We have a big block of residential, and then we have what we call the service little hub in an intersection where you got gas stations, cleaners, laundry, daycare, that sort of anything that would serve the housing, the community there. That helps. But that's what it was there for. That's why the block was left out. So I think you needed some background on that. I think they needed some background on why it was empty. Now that it's been purchased, and back when the drainage study was done for the Tulsa to Vancouver section there, Morgan Barrett did do the study, and he even did hydrographs and showed all the different storm events, showed the council, had it on the screen. You could see the pipes as they filled during each different storm event. And in the process of doing that, he also developed that drainage, the design based on that 6 acres being developed as commercial. Because, you have to design for what is going to happen around it. Otherwise, you're defeating the purpose of sizing the pipes if you don't. It was R1. It's going to be residential. So all the piping downstream is designed for that specific area. Walkable neighborhoods, if you go to, if you've ever been to the village of Hendricks, that's what they have. There's a couple of places up in northwest Arkansas. Everybody talks about walking now, We just got a $25 million grant for trails, that we're designing throughout the city. We've already put a lot of trails already through the city. We've put sidewalks. The city's putting connective sidewalks where there aren't any sidewalks. Why? To walk, for walkers, and so that's what this intent. As R1 right now, it's been reduced to 7,000 square feet from, what was it, 10,000 before? 9,000. So you can get 36 units in there just as an R1. The walkable neighborhood, though, process, the reason we're doing that is it allows the houses to be up front. So it's the setback part to where you have that walking look to it, where you have the house, you have the sidewalk, the cars are in the back. That's where you park, everything's in the back, so you don't have any cars technically, along the front. And so you feel safe walking. It gives you that walking presence. You can go on Google Earth and you can just go down the village of Hendricks, and you see the feel. You get the feel. You got the lamps, the nice lamps, the landscaping, all of that. I mean, it makes you feel comfortable and safe. That's the purpose of the zoning. The purpose of the zoning is not to put as many units in there. It's to make it feel like that walkable neighborhood. And so it's based on the setback. It's the reason for it. So we can bring the houses up, put the parking in back. Otherwise, if you keep the setback in an R1, all the parking's in the front. And so it makes it a little more difficult when you have all these cars parked. We've talked about this before about where you're placing sidewalks. You have four parking spots. Typically, like my house, I live at Shiloh Manor, and I can put 4 vehicles on my driveway. But if I had a sidewalk there, the 2 rear ones block the sidewalk. So that's why everybody always walks in the street or rides their bike in the street, because they can't use the sidewalk. So this is different. This allows the sidewalk to be totally unimpeded at all, because all the parking is in the back of the units. And so that's what makes it unique, and that's what makes it attractive. The houses are going to be in the neighborhood of 1,800 square feet and above. There are some 2-story houses. They're all different. You have that colonial style. You have that front porch style look. And so it's not the cookie cutter type houses. This is different. It's made to look different. It's made to look more of that southern colonial type look. Just like if you look there in the 3 different locations in Arkansas that we have. To just kind of sum up, and I'll have Preston come up. Anytime there's something new, and we've all faced this, anytime there's something new, it's difficult for people to understand. But once they get and they look at it and they see the development, and I'm going back to Marina Road, where we went to the harbor, Hudson Harbor, and then before that, Mike Wilkins, and then we had Cobblestone. We had a lot of people at those. Hudson Harbor was probably the worst. 3 years trying to get that approved. But now everybody likes it. We had, and I think I was working with the city at the time when Walmart Neighborhood Market came in. That was a challenge. We had a lot of people here. This place was packed, if you remember. And now all those people, they go there. They love it. And we haven't had, much traffic problems. The big concern was the intersection, having a lot of traffic problems. But there hasn't been a whole lot. It hasn't warranted a traffic light yet. But I go there, and I don't even live there. I live up at Shiloh Manor, but I go, that's where all my shopping is, at Walmart Neighborhood Market. I don't know why. It's just, I like it better than big Walmart. So it is new, and I understand, it's new, and, when you don't know something, fear crops up. And it happens all the time. The standard, traffic, drainage, congestion, people, all of that. It does come up, and I fully understand that. But when we look back historically at history, at all the times that we have done something new, then when it is complete and it's done, it has turned out good. It has turned out to be positive, to the neighborhood. And the neighborhood has embraced it. And Hudson Harbor, we had a couple that moved, that were against it. They moved there. Same thing with Mike Wilkins down the road. They had somebody that was opposed to it and then eventually ended up buying the unit in there. So, we've done everything. We have to follow the book. We have to do everything, including fire protection. Everything has to be done by the code or it's not going to be approved.
Right.
So all of those items have been checked, and so now we're at this point where we're hoping to put this thing in here and hope that it will be something that the city will be proud of, that the city would like. It's by itself right now, it's kind of sectioned off with a lot of these, their backyards are in the back. And of course, there will be privacy fences. We will have to maintain the ditch back there, which actually will be better now because now the woods won't be there. City will be able to get in and out and maintain that ditch a whole lot better because we're going to have to keep it open and put easements through there. We've already talked to Glenn about that. So all the drainage and streets are going to come to Vancouver, go underground and go into the pipe that's going across to the main detention pond that's there. And the city has made some improvements to the detention pond by putting a weir in the box there to help facilitate the drainage going downstream. And so they've already made some improvements, I think, last year to that. And then I'll let Preston come up and talk about the development itself.
Before you step down, Dave, guys, is there anything that anybody have any questions for Dave before he? Anybody? Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Preston, go ahead.
A year or two ago, they proposed putting that stupid median down there to eliminate the speedway. Now it's just narrowed the lane and the speeders. What do you propose to do
Well,
to eliminate some of the traffic racing from that end down to the Walmart neighborhood?
that is going to happen no matter what. And hold on. Let me finish. Okay, let me finish. Like I said, it's always this, isn't it? It's always this case about traffic. And I understand your point, okay? But just remember, these folks, okay, that are moving there, all right, are no more different than you guys. And, huh? I know it. And why do you think they are? See, you're making suppositions.
No, I'm not. I live there.
You live there, but you don't know if these people are going to speed there.
I am making a supposition that they're going to be the average American, the average driver, probably in the median age group.
But you don't know if they're going to go north. They could go to the cold. You don't know if they're going north. You go to cul-de-sac and go either direction.
Go where north?
Huh? You're just saying to go north to Walmart.
Yeah, they're going to go north.
No, you don't know they're going that. The cul-de-sac is right. The turnaround is right there. They could go anywhere.
The cul-de-sac goes down to 16th Street. Where's the grocery store on 16th Street?
How do you know they're going to the grocery store? They could be going to work. I'm saying, no, you're assuming, you're assuming they're all going to go north, aren't you?
It has been for 26 years. I've watched the average American, how they drive, and some of the worst drivers happen to be some of the older people. Some of the real worst
Yeah.
drivers are the high school. So yeah,
Okay.
they're going to come take the cul-de-sac. There needs to be something done on Vancouver. If the planning commission's going to do something, they need to plan something for Vancouver.
They did.
They didn't.
They put that thing down there.
They made it a nightmare.
I kind of agree with you on that one.
Parking permitted on that is Vancouver, street parking.
Oh,
Emergency vehicle cannot get down to Vancouver if there's a big service vehicle parked on that road, because they're gonna break the undercarriage out from underneath their vehicle. You ask the fire department.
that's not my design.
It's not your design, but it's
Yes, and I supported Overland Park too, that was right there, that goes the same direction.
What I'd like for you to do, sir,
So,
since you want this to be a walkable neighborhood, is park your vehicle at Sequoia Park, get yourself out to that cul-de-sac, and walk to Neighborhood Market, grab 2 bags of food, and walk back.
that's, no.
I've done it. And, you know, I'm not the youngest person in the world, but it takes a toll on you, especially in the summer.
Okay. Overland Park went through,
Okay, well,
and I think we had the same,
well, here, I've
problems
got a
or
concern
questions there, too.
that I keep hearing. One of it is on this right here, we have Public Works, engineering comments, city court, fire building, safety committee, comments, no comment. So apparently they're not too worried about it, they would have a comment, correct?
correct?
Okay, right here, fire is one of y'all's main concerns. Traffic is a main concern. You got water runoff, which is a main concern. You have water and sewer, which is the main concern. And you have lighting, which is a main concern. And then you have smoke, burning the trees. Okay, if this board leaves it like it is, as an R1, they can go in there and put 41 houses in there, and y'all have nothing to say, because that's what it's designed for. We're arguing about a very nice neighborhood that has been proven over the years in other communities. It is very nice. I've seen the plans. I've studied this right here. And you're going to have this exact problem that I keep hearing. If you have fire problem, if you have traffic. Overland Park is almost like a walkable neighborhood. You got sidewalks on both sides. My daughter lives there. I'm over there all the time. I got a lot of friends over there. That neighborhood is gorgeous. When you go down there, you see all these kids playing in the front yard, riding their scooters on the sidewalk. That's the old days. That's what I grew up seeing. It's no different changing this to a walkable neighborhood. It's going to enhance that. And that's my comment.
And I'm just going to make a brief little comment. This is to rezone the property. This isn't to design the subdivision. So obviously you don't have plans in front of you. The staff hasn't seen plans for detention for the fire department. This is the rezone. So when we're just talking about a rezone, there's not as many concerns. Once they start to go through the process to actually develop the subdivision, that's when all of these items like traffic, detention, fire department, water pressure are all going to be addressed. But I will say that staff did have a pre-application meeting with the applicant. We had the fire department, we did not have the fire department there. We had water department, we had engineering, and we've all made appropriate comments to the applicant so that they make sure that they're adequately addressing all of the regulations. So those will all be addressed.
So the staff had a layout. You have to lay it out. We showed them the layout, and then we gave it to the staff, which all the departments can see, so they know exactly what we're doing, and then, 'cause otherwise they can't comment from it, it makes it difficult. We want to make sure that they had that layout, so they could look at it, so they could see the turning motions, where the street cuts are going to be, where the sewer, where the water's going to go, and how many units they're going to be.
It was stated a while ago that the planning commission is, put this in or put that in. All we do is rezone. I mean, that's all we're doing here to get that ball rolling, either that direction or not. So,
Right. And any walkable neighborhood is going to be in a residential area.
Right.
That's what it's designed to be. That's why it was put in this new zoning code. They worked real hard to come up to revamp the zoning code 2 years ago, and they added several new items to it, in the residential section. And they're going to go in the residential section. That's what they're designed to do.
Right. Okay, Preston, you got something you wanted to add here? If you want.
Preston Rude. All I really have to say is, our plan is not to make a terrible neighborhood. We plan on coming to build real nice homes. We can already build, like Dave said, the same amount of homes with parking in the front based on the current R1 zoning. But we're trying to doll it up, I guess you could say. We want it to be very nice. We want it to be, have the parking in the back, get the cars off the street. We're doing sidewalks on both sides all the way around. It's a little bit different neighborhood than what you see here. Actually, I don't know that we have one here really. And I've toured some from the Hendricks Village, some in Northwest Arkansas. Not all of them are tied to any type of commercial. You know, my cousin lives in one in Northwest Arkansas, and it's in the neighborhood. You drive through a neighborhood just like y'all's. My dad used to live there on the corner of 4th and Vancouver, so I know about all the traffic over there. I know about the whole speed bump. I'm well aware of that whole area. That neighborhood up there, it doesn't connect to any type of commercial property. And it's packed. There's waiting lists for people to get in there. I get that that's Northwest Arkansas and we're Russellville, but I also get that there's a housing need here that we need to build. And it's not our intention to come in and build cookie cutter, just basic houses. Everyone's going to have their own identity. Everyone's going to be different. You know, you're going to see a lot of variation in the homes. And we plan to build them all. We don't plan to sell lots to people to come in and build their own home because we're going to be in control so we can keep the look of it. We have ideas and plans, if it works out, to actually have kind of a do set up to where they have their own mow service that comes in, that takes care of the yards, that keeps everything nice. I don't want it to be run down. I want everything to be kept up and looking good for years to come. And to be honest, we hope to kind of target older people that want to get out of a home with maintenance, that they're mowing the yard, they're taking care of a big yard, a bunch of space, and move into something like this. And that's kind of a lot of people that we've had talk to us about it that have a lot of interest in it, to be honest with you. But I'll answer any question you got and try to. I think she's had her hand up several times back there. Sorry.
Yeah.
Why can't it stay R1?
It can, and we can still build the same amount of houses there. To rezone it is so we can move the houses forward and get the parking in the back and off of the streets. So
It's
the
about
garages will
parking.
be in the back of all these.
It's all about parking.
You're saying just for a parking issue of where you park your car at your home, you have to rezone.
To move the houses forward, it falls into what's called the walkable neighborhood. So to move the houses forward closer to the front setback, we have to rezone to the walkable neighborhood.
I live on the corner of Whippoorwill and Vancouver. I can tell you about the traffic and the way people drive.
Oh, yeah.
And I also know right where this development is going is coming right out of the roundabout. My concern is the traffic coming off of 12th Street, the people coming around the roundabout, the people trying to get out on Whippoorwill, and now the additional traffic that's gonna be coming out of your development.
So what I found,
I am really worried my master bedroom is right there.
when my parents lived on the,
How many accidents am I gonna be hearing because of people flying around that roundabout that are not even potentially gonna see the cars that are coming out? I wanna know, where is this driveway gonna be?
so I can't speculate on where the traffic's gonna come from. I mean, when my parents lived on 4th and Vancouver, I can say most of the people coming through that road did not live in that neighborhood. The ones flying through there were not living there. I watched it happen over and over again. And there's nothing that I can do about that. You know, that's a police deal. I mean, there's nothing that even the city can do to prevent people from flying down that road. Because I know none of y'all are flying down that road. I know I don't. I know my parents that lived there didn't. I have a good... But that road is not, to me, when people were living there, it was not the people living in that neighborhood that were flying up and down that road.
But my question is, from the diagrams that we've seen, the driveway into the development, and there was gonna be like a U shape, and then a driveway coming back. How far away from this roundabout are we talking?
How far was that?
Drive in and out.
The first one?
Are you gonna be able to see it clearly when you're coming out of that
Oh, yeah.
roundabout?
Yeah, it's got sight distance. It's about 140 feet, 150 feet.
And likely that corner right there at the roundabout is not gonna have a house on it. That is open space, is what we're planning on.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to see 100 by 150
It's
right
got,
there.
it's got kind of an angle. 'cause it's got
Everything
that
comes from
roundabout,
the
so-
left. Why? Why is it gonna be an open corner? It doesn't need it.
Yeah, it does.
All the danger comes from the left.
It's
in the
because
roundabout.
you can't get a lot out of it because it's got an angle to it.
It's going to be an open spot.
Yeah,
So you'll be able to see the whole area right there,
yeah.
left or right.
So how many rows of houses are there gonna be between 12th Street and Whippoorwill? The back of Whippoorwill?
Where, trying to think, where's Whippoorwill? Is it cut back to the east?
Whippoorwill's north. Whippoorwill's north, then the ditch is to the south, it's behind them.
We're right
And
on
then-
the
Okay.
other side
Yeah,
of the
you're on the other
water
side.
easement,
Yeah.
where they put in the big water pipe.
Right.
So there'll be a row of houses that run backyard to backyard along the ditch, and they'll U and come back around 12th Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there's only 5 houses on Whippoorwill there. I don't see where you're gonna get 36.
No, they're not. You're not getting 36 across there.
Yeah, no, it U's, and then there's
It's
houses in
36
the middle.
in the whole complex.
So there's gonna be like 4 rows?
Yes,
Yeah,
4
you'll
rows.
you'll have a row and then a side and then a row, and then the center, you'll have 2 rows with an alley, and then everybody comes down the alley and pulls into their driveway.
Okay.
In the back.
On the outside, they come between the 2 houses and pull into their driveway in the back, so that the cars are off the street.
So, but the alleys don't come out on any city streets
No,
there now?
no.
They're all in?
They're all city
There's
streets.
only, yeah,
all
2
in
rows.
turn?
Yeah, yeah, and all.
There's only one alley.
Yeah, right.
but-
And the
and
street
one
that goes
horseshoe.
around, it's gonna be a city street.
Okay, so none of the houses are gonna, okay, so are the houses on 12th Street gonna be pulling out on 12th Street?
No, everything's facing in.
Yeah,
So all those houses are all gonna come out in front of her house there on,
they're gonna come out,
Not-
they're
not
gonna
in-
come out on Vancouver.
yeah, they're gonna come out on Camp Vancouver right there on.
Yeah, there's 2 spots on Vancouver.
Okay.
Right.
Instead of 1 street coming out, they're gonna have 2 streets coming out. Okay.
To develop it, no matter what, there's always gonna be 2
Yeah, and
entrances
for
in
fire
there.
protection and emergency services, you have to have the 2 streets.
Yeah.
We got a question right here, and the gentleman right here's got a,
Would you consider putting, the entrance and exit on 12?
go ahead, you can step up here, if you would.
It's gonna be right in my face.
Yeah,
The city controls that because it is a collector street as opposed to a residential street, and they don't want too many roads coming off of a collector street because they're trying to get traffic from one place to the other. So we thought about that, but then we had to twist it because of that reason. They don't want to even impede it.
I have 2 things to add. Number 1, Brookview Estates was platted in 1988, and the property we're talking about was zoned R1 then. Now, if people are planning on it for something else, why didn't they rezone it to commercial? Number 2, the big issue with me is all the other permissible uses that WN gives in that neighborhood, and I'm going to read them to you. Dwelling condominiums, dwelling multifamily and 2-family duplex, dwelling multifamily 3 and 4-family, tris and quadplex, dwelling single-family detached, that's R1, dwelling single-family attached townhouses, group residence, residential home daycare, school, nursery, or child care center, daycare family homes, residential home day, I'm repeating that, a cemetery or a mausoleum or both, park or recreation facility, a library or post office, a radio transmission tower privately owned, a place of worship, a utility substation, and a school, public or private. Now, that land, once rezoned, will be practically impossible to zone back until both the structures on top of the land and the infrastructure placed under the land is removed. That will be forever WN, and anyone who purchases that land will be able to put one of these 18 permissible uses on that 6 acres when they are surrounded by 3/4 of a mile of single residential families going west, a half a mile going east, and a whole mile going north. There's, like Mr. Perkins said, there's no businesses, there's no retail, there's no restaurants, there's no grocery stores. This is simply, I'm going to apologize in advance, it's simply an example. It's simply a guess. It's an experiment. And they haven't done their due diligence in finding out about the water. You're wrong there too. I was there. I really appreciate what y'all did, but it will not handle, because do you know the size of the drain that goes north on Vancouver and then west on the approach to the reservoir?
You're talking about the 36-inch pipe?
The 36-inch pipe. Okay. That's the same 36-inch pipe that comes along that whole thing. That's right. And Morgan to us and to Randy Horton said it'll be fine if it's around 14 houses. You're going to turn all of that into runoff. You're going to cause the flooding again, and the city's going to pay another $360,000 to fix it.
No, because it won't go in, they won't approve it.
Who won't approve it?
The city won't approve it. We show that it's going to exceed.
Well, he shows it's not going to come close. All right. So thank you, gentlemen. That's a big concern of mine and several of these other people. This is forever, and it's too many options. We're not against the housing. I'm not against the R1 and you putting them in, but it leaves the option for those people that go beyond you.
We're putting in this, like an HOA, you're gonna have a committee inside the subdivisions that's gonna regulate that.
But inside the subdivision is not going to be legally enforced. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right,
So-
Sarah, or Dave,
so-
you got?
So concerning his concern about the rezoning on all of the other items, you can stipulate it has to be single-family house. You've done it before. It goes to the council. The ordinance will state it has to be single-family housing.
That's what we have to
period,
remember is right here,
to
we are
protect
just
them.
rezoning is all we're
Yeah,
doing
we've done
here,
it
so-
before to protect citizens before,
Right.
you know? And then they can't do anything. You cannot put anything in it on that chart but single-family houses, period. Otherwise, they'd be in violation of the ordinance.
I know Preston well enough, though, he's not gonna do that, so.
So does that mean that y'all two are supporting this not rezoning to walkable?
No, rezoning to walkable, but it has to be single-family housing.
But that's,
We're not building,
it's not compatible with one another. You're saying that it's
Yeah,
walkable,
it is.
it's gonna have all these 18 uses, is that?
No, no,
That'll all come back
no,
to the-
no. We're going to specify, the purpose of the walkable neighborhood is to put the setback at 5 feet to bring the houses up. That's the whole thing. So to protect you from all those other things, we specify walkable neighborhood with the condition it has to be single-family housing, period.
Okay.
we're moving to
Not
walkable
commercial.
to give it a design and a character that's a
Right.
little bit
And
different.
it's already R1, why can't you amend that?
Because they won't,
Houses up close.
we can't get a variance for that. It doesn't fit the variance
He's-
code.
He's right, I mean, you're,
Yeah, to fit the variance code,
If we
it has
could,
to
I
be,
would much rather- I could do
yeah.
the work
Yeah.
tomorrow.
yeah.
We would have-
Yeah, we wouldn't have been here. But it takes there's 5 items that we have to meet for a variance, and it won't meet that because it's brand new.
sidewalks and parking is a lot of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of
So
the
to
problem we're
put
looking
the
at.
parking in the back, the sidewalks up front, bring the houses up to make it the walkable, that's what we have to do. But to protect you from everything else, they can say it has to be single-family housing, period.
But the walkable doesn't, as he write off separate, all list of uses because it's walkable. If you're just saying you're just gonna go to R1, that you want a change of setback, you don't have to put in that you're gonna have daycare and that's acceptable to have daycare in there and multifamily housing, just because you wanna say, I want to change the setback. It seems like
But then you have to put the houses back and all your parking's back in the front.
Right,
And it's
in
not
R1,
walkable.
the houses would be further off the road than they would be in a walkable.
Yeah,
Okay, you can ask for a variance for that.
no, you can't.
What I'm saying is that my street, if the street behind me had been in there, then, and it was built just like we were, there'd only be, what would it be, 12 houses there? 15 houses? Would all of them fit in there?
See, R1's changed.
I know, okay.
It's
okay.
changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gone
The
from
lot
9,000 to
requirement's
7,000.
down on R1 from what it was.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's,
So because they waited a long time, they put more houses in there?
Right.
Oh, that's good.
there's a couple, I mean, right here, we're doing a rezone's all we're doing tonight. And there's gonna be other things that'll be, brought before us, and you guys are gonna, you'll have plenty of opportunity to, Sarah, you have anything you wanna add?
I think this lady right here has raised her hand several times.
Yeah,
Who's
there's
that?
somebody
In the-
right
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, her.
Yes, ma'am, go right ahead.
Clarification question.
Yes, ma'am.
Currently, R1 says the setback in the front needs to be how far?
25 feet.
25?
25, yes, ma'am.
What is the distance between each dwelling?
5.
5.
You have 10. You have 10. 10. 5 and 5. It's 10 total.
So you have the house
Well,
back 25,
Yes.
you built a two-story skinny house, 1,800 square feet, and then you walk out there, walk off 5 feet and build the next house.
10 feet.
10.
10 feet.
10 feet
10 feet.
in R1.
Yes.
So R1 is 10 feet on the side and 25 feet
In-
setback.
They're set in, correct.
WN says what?
Says you can go up to 5 feet in the front.
What's the side?
Same, 5, 10 feet.
10 feet.
10 feet. It's the same.
So you propose to put garages to the back,
To the back, correct.
and I'm assuming they're two-car garages.
Correct.
Will they fit 2 cars?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. We've already got it designed.
Yeah. As long as they don't have a truck.
No, they can have a truck.
They have a truck, where they
They can truck. You'll have 2 cars. You'll have 2 cars in the garage and 2 cars outside the garage. You have 4.
So your driveway's behind the garage. Before the alley starts, it's gonna be long enough
Yes.
to accommodate a truck.
Yes, I have a truck.
Okay.
I have a
And you can
extended
get
cab.
2 trucks in that space outside the garage door when it's closed.
Yes. A truck is 17 and a half
So
feet.
you're going to
Extended cab,
guarantee-
GMC.
You're going to guarantee that none of those residents is gonna try to park in front of my daughter-in-law's house.
I can't. You're outside the zone. You're outside their parking area.
You're saying they won't park in front of her house?
No, they're outside.
They're outside of your zone.
They're outside your subdivision.
There's plenty of spaces to park inside the subdivision before.
Why would they
come
go
out.
outside the subdivision to park back? Doesn't make sense.
Because they're using the garages for storage, they can't get in it.
Approximately how wide are the alleys?
20 feet.
Oh,
Yeah, standard alley.
well, they better be paid.
But those don't
Yes.
have an offset, so they can go right up against
Yeah, everything's paved. It's concrete.
fences on Temple, or on Tulsa.
No, there won't be what fence on Tulsa?
I don't know.
All the residences on Tulsa have a fence in the back.
Okay?
If there's gonna be a 20-foot wide alley, there's no 5-foot
So,
setback.
so the
No,
only
that's all.
the only alley is coming through the middle.
The
middle
center.
section. The house is on the external going towards Tulsa and around, following the ditch line that's been in question.
What direction are they gonna face?
They're all facing in. No house faces out. It all faces
Right.
inside the subdivision.
That's what I'm talking about. The alleys are behind.
So the lots on the exterior, okay, of the subdivision, they go between the houses and then turn into their garages. So every other house has a driveway. Yeah,
Their garage is perpendicular to the house,
they're in the back.
they're in the back.
They're in the back.
You still have
They're
to
on the
apply
side.
the
They're on the
house.
side. So 2 houses, you got this house and this house, okay? You come off the street and you come between. This neighbor turns into his, this neighbor turns into theirs.
The ones on the outside will be on the back of the house, but on
Right.
the side of the house.
But on the side of the
The
house.
rear.
The
So
rear
no
side.
front- No front facing garages.
Right.
The ones on the intersection,
Wait,
where the alley is, they'll all be.
alley between a house and the garage is
The center,
behind you.
the,
Don't have to make a U-turn.
no, the center section is that way. The center section has the alley, and then they turn in, and these guys turn down. Okay?
Hey,
The
guys,
outside
let's,
section, they go up and turn. Got it?
Preston,
Okay.
you had signed up to speak. I mean, is there anything else you wanted to add here before we go ahead and
No, I think.
do our, okay, we need to go ahead and,
I'll just say, it's zero of our intention to do anything that you listed off in that list of stuff that's
Yeah.
on there.
get that, but when you sell the property, you have no control over that.
They do.
They
The
do.
council does.
this meeting is,
If we
council
set that
does.
up as,
No, the
No.
council does. City council does.
when we set that up, they can put in there, it can only be single-family dwelling. You
Yeah.
cannot do,
but tonight's meeting is just a zoning, it's a
Right.
zone change meeting is all it is. I mean, there's really nothing, Sarah, you got anything you want to
To
add here?
clarify, if we change it to walkable neighborhood, he is correct. Any use could be in there. If what they are proposing is that it's walkable neighborhood with the condition of single-family only, we would have to go back and change the zone to a WN-S, like we previously had the R2-S, to be able to restrict it. We can't just add a condition to the zone that restricts the use to single-family without creating that overall, updating the zoning code to first allow the walkable neighborhood with the restriction. That's why we ended up with that R2S category.
Okay.
So tonight, if we're moving an application forward, it would be a walkable neighborhood. They could put any of the uses that the neighbors have highlighted are possible in that walkable neighborhood. However, what they're proposing is a residential neighborhood. It is a single-family neighborhood.
A lot of that'll be taken care of anyway, so. you're
Okay,
right.
so we could do that. So what we could do is table it. We could table it, and then we could come back next month, and you could come back with that change, with that addition.
Preston, you
That
cool
would-
with that?
But it would help them.
Good.
We have to go through the long-range planning committee, and
We have one coming up, don't we?
we haven't
January.
scheduled it yet, so.
I think we could meet it.
But that will delay you. I think you just.
It's gonna take the process of going through, of getting all the plans approved through the health department, through the staff and everything. It will be June before we can start, so we need to get in June. Yeah, so it's weather.
And so you would be real happy with that, to only be houses, you're talking about the setback is what you're talking
Right.
about. But there's not gonna be all those other 17 uses
Correct.
permitted.
Right.
Then that's what we need to be, that needs to be the motion, to change
And that's-
our.
That will happen, just
That's
not
what I'm-
tonight, though.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
They're not gonna read a zone change less than 3 times.
I know.
the only difference though, that we're talking about is going from what I could already
A
build in the wall.
25-foot
they're still
setback
gonna-
to a
So we could just-
potentially
we
a
could just
5-foot.
Drop the whole deal and go to work and build our houses.
And even if they're gonna read it 3 times, they're still gonna read this one 3 times. That's why
I'm
we're
just
losing one month.
saying, the zone change would have to be in effect, or the zoning code update would have to be in effect before this could come back to change it to a walkable neighborhood. So
What
you
kind of a
would be
timeframe we looking at on that?
at-
Couple of months?
You're gonna be looking at February, if we're able to get the long-range planning committee meeting scheduled, held, and updates to council for
For approval.
February.
Right.
They're gonna read it one time in February, March, and April, and then you could come back for an application in May.
Right. And right now, as it is, the process, we're looking just 1 month difference. Because they're gonna read it 3 times. Changing this to a walkable, because you guys gonna be there, right? Okay.
Sarah, what do you
They're gonna read it
recommend?
3 times.
Give me a
It's the
recommendation here,
same
what we need to.
process. We're just losing 1 month.
I have a couple items to address that we're going to make sure that the drainage study and the drainage is taken care of. That was a concern that's been highlighted. We're going to be looking at the traffic. One of the things that maybe the applicant could do as they're going through the subdivision is look at the alternative and see if they could come off of 12th instead of off of Vancouver, because that might help offset some of the concerns we've heard about traffic. This is just a rezoning application. We'll be going through the subdivision application and having to look at all of the plans to see if they're in conformance and in compliance with that. I've heard financial impact. What if the walkable neighborhood fails? It's still a residential subdivision. These are still single-family residential homes, so if a walkable neighborhood isn't successful in Russellville, we only have 36 single-family homes that we're having to look at. It's not a gas station. It's not another use. We need homes. I'm positive that these 36 homes are going to be filled as soon as they're built, because that's how desperately we need residential homes in this neighborhood. I've heard that some areas may not have changed since 1955. Well, if they haven't changed since 1955, do we want to do something that could bring about proactive change within the community to meet a need? I've heard walk score is 13 and we're a completely car dependent area. We are, absolutely. But do we want to always remain a car dependent area in Russellville? Or do we want to have a walkable neighborhood? It's on the Russellville Connected Trail System, which we are nearly doubling with that RAISE grant that we were able to obtain and are currently working on. I think at this point, even though they've made the offer to go back, update the zone, restrict it to walkable neighborhood, just single family, I think the best thing to do at this point is to allow this to move forward to City Council. I think that the staff report recommendation is still a valid recommendation, and I would like you to consider that.
All right. All right, commissioners, you've heard the lady.
So, Sarah, there is not a way to restrict the zone change without taking it back to
Correct. Without updating the zoning code to restrict and create a walkable neighborhood, single-family residential only, like we have in the old code, we had an R2S, which is just in the new code to help maintain what we have 2 subdivisions that are built under R2S. That's what they did with that, and we removed those when we updated the code. And so that we would have to go through that whole process, and they would not be able to come back to request a rezone until May.
Well, I will make a motion to approve it as presented and put it in the hands of City Council to determine the next step. And then we can finalize the subdivision at that time.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this rezoning request as presented with those stipulations, if you would annotate those. All those in favor, acknowledge by saying aye.
I've got one
Oh,
question.
oh, yeah, go ahead.
That will allow the city council to approve the zoning. That'll give them a chance.
Yeah, it's just gonna give them the authority to do what they need to do. Right, some good points. Yep. There's gonna be several steps that's gonna
Fire,
happen.
traffic, I mean,
Yeah.
they'll do all that stuff that we've been talking about tonight.
There were
That's
some
the
valid
City
points
Council
brought up
does
here
that.
tonight.
Very
I
good, valid points.
Yeah. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve this request with those stipulations. All those in favor acknowledge by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. Sarah?
For those in the audience who want to continue coming to meetings regarding this application, agenda prep is January 7th in this room at 5:30 PM, and then city council meeting is January 16th at 6 PM in this room.
I also want to thank all
6
y'all's
p.m.
comments. I listen to every one of y'all, and I value your opinion, because people up here care about Russellville just as much as you. I've lived here my entire life. I've raised 4 kids. I'm raising grandkids. My daughters are. So I just want to thank you for all your concerns. You are being heard.
I'll second that. All right, we are adjourned.